Hello guys, it is Gate of Theories here, and Marvel has really been treating us today. Not only did we get an awesome episode of Loki, but also Black Widow finally released in cinemas. What a day to be a Marvel fan. But aside from the fact that a Scarlett Johansson solo MCU film was everything we could have wanted and well deserved, we also need to look at where this film takes the future of the MCU, as even though it's a prequel, everything in Marvel means something. So today we are going to be delving through what the future of Black Widow is and whether we can expect any sequels anytime soon, as well as explaining that end credits scene. But before we go any further, I am putting a huge spoiler warning, not just for Black Widow, but basically any MCU content from Phase 3 or 4, as a sequel could affect all of them. And just make sure that you've also clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make any brand new Marvel videos. So, a Black Widow sequel might seem initially like a strange thing, simply because in Endgame we saw Natasha unfortunately and heroically sacrifice herself so that Clint could get the Soul Stone. But we have to also remember, and what this film basically showed us, is that there isn't only one Black Widow. In fact, there's several hundred Black Widows who were forced to apply in the Red Room. Natasha, however, just ended up being the one who became an Avenger. Unfortunately, this does mean that a Black Widow sequel is likely, but not likely with Natasha Romanoff as the main star, since the character is dead. However, that doesn't mean a new Black Widow can't take up her spot in the Avengers. And it isn't just Black Widow who this is happening to, but rather all the Avengers, as Marvel is beginning to set up a brand new team, or maybe even several. We already have Spider-Man taking over from Iron Man, and unfortunately, due to Chadwick Boseman's death, we have a new Black Panther coming as well. Captain Marvel is coming, but will be joined by Miss Marvel and most likely Monica Rambeau. WandaVision kind of set up the twins, and then we also have films like Thor Love and Thunder, where Jane Foster will wield Mjolnir, becoming the new Thor. In the third Ant-Man, I wouldn't be surprised if Cassie Lang took over, and in the Hawkeye series, Clint is training his daughter to take over. And I'm pretty sure we can expect Morgan Stark to take over from her father as well. And finally, in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we saw Falcon become the new Captain America, who is getting his own Captain America film now without Chris Evans. So it seems likely that the new Black Widow film will not involve Scarlett Johansson and Natasha Romanoff at all, but rather a brand new Black Widow. However, just for this video, let's think about how they could do a sequel of Black Widow with Natasha still in it. And I'm not talking about any flashbacks or scrolls or multiverses or whatever. At the end of the film, it spectacularly set up the route for Natasha to enter Infinity War, giving her her new blonde hairstyle and an Avengers jet to go and get the fugitive Avengers. Now, this is kind of pushing it, and I doubt Marvel would ever do this, but we could literally see a film of Natasha trying to get her friends out of prison. The film would take place in a very short period of time, but would bring back characters such as Captain America, played by Chris Evans. It could even be seen as sort of a mini Avengers kind of thing, which I've always wanted, kind of like what Civil War was like. We know Bucky ended up at Wakanda and Ant-Man on house arrest, but as for the others, we really don't know how they escaped. We could see how Wanda got to Vision, how Clint escaped back to his family, then went through his Ronin phase, and of course how Falcon and Captain America escaped, and it could even end on the three of them going to the events of Infinity War. Who knows, if this was to tie into the overarching story of the MCU, we could see the Avengers dealing with Nick Fury in space, as we know Nick Fury is very close to Black Widow, Falcon, and Captain America. Maybe it could even be similar to the Winter Soldier film. But that aside, the more likely scenarios are following the other Black Widows the film introduced. And since we have a fourth Captain America with a new cap, it seems likely. So I have three options for this. The first one is simply following the Black Widow family after the events of the film. The film ended with Natasha staying to face off Thaddeus Ross, while Yelena, Belina, and Red Guardian and the freed Black Widows escaped with the downloaded information Natasha got with the remaining Black Widows' locations on. The sequel could simply see this new family go to find these remaining Black Widows around the world and shut down Dreykov's network and any association with the Red Room for good. Basically what the original Budapest plan was like. This could even take place during the events of Infinity War and end with the family being snapped away. Although, we could also be given a reason as to why none of these Black Widows were in the final battle in Endgame. The second idea is looking more at the post-credits scene, where we see Yelena going to visit Natasha's grave after the events of Endgame. If this post-credits scene is telling us anything, it's that most likely Yelena will replace Natasha as the new Black Widow going forward in the MCU. But the big reveal in this scene was that we saw Yelena interacting with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who we of course last saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Bearing in mind, however, if it wasn't for the pandemic, Black Widow was meant to be the first film in Phase 4, so it was probably going to be the first time we were introduced to Valentina, and then properly introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But even then, currently in the MCU, we don't know much about her. So, the Black Widow sequel could see how Yelena got involved with Valentina in the first place, and why she is working for her. Who knows, maybe all of the Black Widows are working for Valentina, and she could even be trying to get the data to restart the Black Widow program in a different way. After all, Valentina is going to be allegedly Madam Hydra in the MCU. However, this could just be a cover-up, and she could just be undercover for another organisation, but we still don't really know whether she's bad or good. Although she is siding with John Walker and turning him into US agent, so I think it's safe to say she's definitely going to be an antagonist in the next Captain America film. And finally, the final idea for a Black Widow sequel is a Yelena and Hawkeye team-up. Doesn't that just sound amazing? The biggest part of the end credits scene was that Valentina showed a picture of Clint to Yelena, stating that he is the reason for Natasha's death. Yelena should hunt down and kill him. This could easily be a sequel where we could see Yelena learn Natasha's legacy by either trying to hunt down Clint or team up with him. This could also be answered in the new Hawkeye Disney Plus original. However, that show is mainly going to focus on getting Clint's daughter to become the next Hawkeye, but the Black Widow sequel could simply be a sequel to that Disney Plus show. This could even lead to a proper Ronin film we've all been waiting for, and that Endgame hinted at for Clint, but just instead in a Black Widow film. But either way, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Which out of these 4 ideas do you think could be the potential Black Widow sequel, and which is your favourite? Or do you have any other ideas for it? Or do you reckon Black Widow was just a great standalone movie to say goodbye to Natasha Romanoff? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments and how much you loved Black Widow. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.